Hey guys, it's me, Julian Greystoke. Why yes, I do have horns. Today I'm wearing my Labyrinth shirt, and we are getting super magical and spoopy for today's review of The Darkest Part of the Forest. So The Darkest Part of the Forest, this is a book that has been on my radar for a while, and I'm super late to the game reviewing it, but what else is new? First we will talk about the good things about it, and then we will talk about the bad things about it. I actually organized this review, I know, that never happens. So I was really intrigued when I first started reading this book. This book hooked me. I sat up and took notice immediately. This story is about a brother and sister who have these ties to the fairyland, and their town is super tied to the fairyland because they made some kind of bargain years and years ago or something like that. I don't even remember what it was, but I loved the ties to the fairyland, and that it wasn't just like the two main characters who knew that fairyland existed. It was the whole town. Everybody acknowledged fairies are real, magic happens, we are living like basically in the Sunnydale of the fairy world, so we need to be respectful of these otherworldly creatures. There was a really cool mystery and an overarching sense of danger throughout this book, especially with the horned boy in his glass case for most of the beginning of this book. It felt very twisty and mystical, like the fairyland itself. Once again, we have a brother-sister duo. I have a lot of siblings, and I've always been fairly close with my brother, who is nearest to me in age, and so any story that has a brother and a sister who are in a great team, it makes me happy. And these two are really pretty great together. Side note and fun fact, if you watch my channel, y'all know that I read Feed, the first in the Newsflesh trilogy, which also had a brother and sister starring in it. Links to that in the doobly-doo if you want to go check that out. The sister has the book Feed in her room. Like, she never says the title, but she describes it briefly, and I'm like, that's Feed. And I tried to figure out if the author of this book and the author of Feed had anything in common with each other in a very brief, lazy Google search, and I found nothing, so if anybody knows how these two are tied together, let me know. Anyway, I'm getting way off track. Everybody gets a fairy boyfriend! Fairy boyfriends for everybody! I want a fairy boyfriend with horns. Yeah, and the world and the mythology are really cool, and you want to know more, and you want to get in deep with this fairy world and this town that lives hand in hand with it. But as much as I enjoyed the beginning of this book, it did have some flaws, and eventually the flaws started to outweigh the good for me. The characters, while we had this awesome brother-sister duo, they never got deeper, they didn't grow or change, and we never found out really more about them. Like, I don't need a character to grow and change in every book, but I like to learn about them throughout the book and know more about them at the end than I did at the beginning. And these two, they're kind of introduced and they are the same through the whole thing. They never step out of their molds at all. Random side characters just appear in this book. At one point, the lead girl goes to school, and the author's like, oh yeah, and then her best friend, we'll call her Jenny because I don't remember her name, and then her best friend Jenny came over. They'd been best friends their whole lives. And I was like, excuse me? We are significantly into this book, and you just offhandedly introduced a best friend, and this is not how you introduce side characters. If a character has a best friend, then you make them a character, and if she doesn't need to be a character, then don't include her at all! It really just makes the author look artless. The writing style in this book just did not really engage me, and I can't quite put my finger on why, but I zoned out quite a bit. I really wanted to be present and paying attention to everything, but the writing style just zoned me out. I can't quite put my finger on why. This book had the useless parents trope, which was even more frustrating because their parents knew about the fairy world. And it's like, why go through the trouble of having the parents know about the fairy world too if they're never going to be of any use to anybody? The fae in this world are sort of built up at the beginning as being really mysterious and really alien. We don't understand the ways of the fairy. But then once you get to know some of them, they are very human, and it kind of disappointed me. I mean, I know two of them at the very least have to be romantic interests for our lead characters, but I would have liked it a lot better if they were more alien, were more different, had these huge differing things in their culture to reconcile. And finally, just overall, this book just went downhill for me, and the ending was weird. And it had to do with the main character of Hazel, and I don't feel like giving you that spoiler right now because you might actually want to go read this book, but it's confusing, and the rules are explained and then not used. And I think it would have been a lot better and a lot stronger of an ending if the rules that we had previously established had been used. And this isn't really a proper spoiler because it doesn't matter. Hazel goes to the fairy world, and she knows she cannot eat the food or drink the drinks. Because if you eat or drink in the fairy world, then when you go back to the human world, everything you eat or drink will taste like ash. And she drinks some wine, and she's fine. She goes back to the human world, she's able to eat and drink, we never hear about this being an issue for her. It's never explained why. You make up this cool world with these rules, and then you don't follow them, and I think that's what drove me the craziest about this book. It was like, Fairyland is this way, and the rules of Fairyland are blah, and then it was like, but conveniently they're not right now, because we need the characters to do this thing, and we don't want to inconvenience the characters. So there you go, those are my thoughts on the darkest part of the forest. Did you read it? What did you think about it? Do you like my horns? I like my horns. I need more excuses to wear horns. Remember everyone that I post new videos here Mondays and Fridays. All the links to my social media are in the doobly-doo, and you can purchase yourself a copy of my self-published book, Phoenix, for sale on Amazon, ebook and print copy. Anyway, I will see you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!